welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to create this look for you, which is a really pretty, girly, feminine look. It's got rosy, pinky, lavender tones, and I just think it's perfect for this time of year, and it's great for any sort of event as well, perfect for weddings. So if you want to see how I created this look, then just keep watching. So I've already done my brows, and for that I use the Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Brow Pencil, and this is in the shade Medium Brown. And to set them in place, I've of course used the L'Oreal Paris Brow Artist Plumper. I'm going to move on to the base now, and to prep my skin, I am going to prime with the Makeup Forever Step 1 Skin Equalizer, and this is the Smoothing Primer. And I mainly concentrate this in the centre of the face, where I'd normally be quite porous, if that's the right terminology. My pores tend to be quite visible around this area of my face and kind of on my forehead. But I also like to focus the primer down and along my T-zone, because that's the area where I tend to get the most oiliest throughout the day, and where there's oil, that's where the makeup tends to break up first. Now for my base today, I'm going to be using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation, and I'm in the shade Y335. Hopefully this is the right shade for me, because I have been a bit tan quite recently, although my tan is definitely fading now. And then on a buffer brush, I'm just going to take it onto the skin. And again, I tend to start from the centre of my face and kind of work outwards, because I find that the centre of my face kind of needs more coverage than towards the outer edges of my face. Now I think I can just about get away with using this shade. I think it's a pinch too light, but once we kind of bronze up the skin, I think everything will look fine. And I always like to take the edges down my neck as well, just to make everything look cohesive and seamless. Moving on to the eyes, I'm going to start off by priming them first, and I'm just going to use a concealer for that. You can use the eye primer, or you can just use a concealer. And the one I'm using is the Urban Decay Naked Skin Weightless Complete Coverage Concealer, and this is in the shade Light. Just take a little dab of that on the lids and kind of blend it out with my ring finger. And this is a great way to conceal your eyes, especially if you kind of have a lot of discoloration, a lot of darkness in your lids, or you know, if they're a bit veiny. Using a concealer as a primer will definitely kind of cover it up. And then to kind of set that concealer in place, I'm just going to take a fluffy brush and just some loose translucent powder. You can use pressed powder, whatever you have. I'm just going to put a light dusting of that on the lid. This is just going to set the concealer, just make it easier for you to kind of blend eyeshadow on top. So first of all, I'm going to go in with a transition shade, and this one's Haux from MAC, and it's kind of like a really cool tone, slightly dusky, pinky mauve shade. And I'm going to take that on a fluffy brush, tap off the excess, and just apply that straight into the crease area. Then moving on to the main colour of the lid, I'm going to go in with this kind of really cool, light, icy pinky shade. And this is from the Morphe 35T palette. I absolutely love this palette. It's so versatile. There's a lot of kind of pinky, mauvey, plummy tones, but there's a few kind of golden bronzes and kind of olive greens and stuff. So it's a really nice palette. So basically taking that shade on a flat shader brush, I'm going to apply it. Sorry, that's my phone going a bit mental. I'm going to apply it on the inner half of the mobile part of the lid, so it's the part of the eye that moves, and I'm only going as far as the crease. I don't really want to take it higher than that. So moving on to the outer part of the eye where we've kind of left blank, I'm going to move on to this shade, which is a kind of bronzy pink shade. It's a metallic, really, really beautiful, really nice and warm. So it's going to kind of counteract with the coolness of the lighter shade that we've got on our eye, and I think that's going to look really beautiful. So again, on the same flat shader brush, I've just kind of flipped it over. applying that right on the outer third of the eye, just patting the colour down. Then taking the first brush that I used to apply that transition shade, I'm going to dip a little bit back into that transition shade, which was MAC Haux, and I'm going to use it to blend out that edge of that darker metallic shade that we just put down on the outer third of the eye. And this is just going to make the edge really soft and kind of blend a bit more seamlessly into that transition colour. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more of that dark rosy bronze onto the outer third again. And you can just keep repeating this step until you get it to the depth that you want it, because when you're blending back and forth you can kind of blend away the intensity. And you can just repeat the steps. Then to really kind of smoke out this look a little bit more, I want to add a bit more darkness to the very outer corners of the eyes. So I'm going to use a matte dusky kind of purple shade, and this is Vintage from Makeup Geek. And this isn't too dark, but I think it's nice to add a little bit more of a kind of plummy smokiness to the look. I'm taking it on a very tapered brush, and I'm just going to apply that to the very outer corner of the eye, and I'm essentially drawing in a bit of a V shape. So joining the corner of the lash line, kind of taking it up to the crease and then bringing it inwards, but not too far. Then taking the big fluffy brush that we used the transitional shade on, I'm literally just gonna blend away over that vintage shade, just to ensure that there's no harsh lines. And I'm just basically using whatever was left on this brush. I haven't added any more product. Then I'm going to go in with a little bit of eyeliner, and I'm going to use the Kat Von D tattoo liner in Trooper. And I'm going to do a little bit of a wing, nothing too dramatic, and I tend to like to keep it a bit more thicker on the outer half of the wing and keep it really thin and refined towards the inner corner. Then to soften out that liner and give it a bit more of a smoky effect, I'm going to go in with a black matte eyeshadow, and the one I'm using is Makeup Geek's Corrupt. And I'm taking a really kind of small, dense, flat brush. I'm just going to take a little bit of that Corrupt and start working it on top of that liner. A bit of mascara, and for that I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Paris Telescopic waterproof mascara, and this has quickly become my favourite mascara, possibly of all time. So that should be enough, because we're going to put on some false lashes anyway. But before I do that, I want to go in and tightline my top waterline, and this is just going to give the illusion of a much thicker lash line. So for that I'm going to be using the Colourpop Creme gel liner, and this is in the shade Swerve, which is a black. Right, then I'm going to go in with some false lashes. So whatever your favourite pair are, just throw them on. Right, I've just put my eyelashes on, which was a bit of a pain, to be honest with you. I'm going to move on to concealing my under eyes, and I'm going to use the same concealer I used to prime my lids, and this is the Urban Decay Naked Skin one. And I'm literally just going to take it directly on top of the darkness that we have here and here. Then using a damp beauty blender, I'm just gonna start blending that in. And I like to use tapping motions as opposed to kind of swiping motions, so that you don't kind of move the product. take a little bit of the concealer around my nose as well, where I'm slightly red, and just kind of either side of my mouth where I've got kind of broken capillaries. Maybe just hide that spot as well. Damp Beauty blender again. Just gonna blend away the concealer. Then I'm going to do a bit of highlighting, and for that I'm going to use the Smashbox Step by Step Contour Stick, and this is in the highlight shade. I'm just going to take that just below the eyes, centre of the face, so kind of between the brows, down the length of my nose, and a teeny bit on my chin as well. And again, Damp Beauty blender, just gonna blend that in. And this is such a nice product to work with. It's really creamy and easy to blend. Then I'm gonna set all of that in place using the RMCA No Colour Powder. Then on a big fluffy brush, I'm going to take a bit of the same powder and just sweep it lightly over the cheeks. And this is just going to provide a nice smooth base for when I come to apply more powder products on top, like my bronzer and my contour. And it will just make the product just apply more smoothly and seamlessly without it skipping or without it looking patchy or blotchy. It's just a great trick. But before we move on to that, I want to finish off the eyes. I'm basically going to mimic what I've done on the top lid onto my bottom kind of lash line. Starting off with the cool icy pink shade, I am going to apply that to kind of the inner half of the bottom lash line. And then on the outer half, I'm going to go in with the rosy bronze shade. Then on a pencil brush, I'm going to go in with that matte purple shade, Vintage from Makeup Geek, and apply that to the outer part of the bottom lash line, quite close to the lashes, or basically on the lashes. Then with a flat dense brush, I am going to go in with Makeup Geek's Corrupt, which is that matte black, and just apply that to the very outer corner of the lash line. And just kind of joining it up with the wing on the top lash line. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of mascara to the bottom lashes, of course. Then I'm going to move on to contouring, and for that I'm going to be using the Makeup Geek contour powder in the shade Infidelity, which is, I believe, the medium cool tone shade. And I'm going to apply that straight into the hollows of my cheeks, and the easiest way to find where that is by sucking in your cheeks and basically just following that line. And I tend to concentrate most of the product right by the hairline and blend forwards. And then once I've got most of the product down, I start kind of blending upwards. So you get a nice kind of gradient effect, which kind of looks a bit more natural, rather than just having one harsh line. And again, I like to run any excess product along my jawline as well, just for a bit more definition there. And let's not forget the nose as well. Any product that's left on my brush, I like to kind of just run it lightly either side of my nose, just to create a tiny bit of shadow and the illusion of a slimmer snout. Just under the round bit as well. And that's basically my nose contouring done. Then moving on to warming up my complexion, I'm going to be using Makeup Forever's Pro Bronze Fusion, which is looking a bit worse for wear. I'm basically swirling that on a large fluffy powder brush. I'm just going to take it right across the cheeks, and this is a great way to kind of blend and soften out that contour line. So if you've gone a bit too heavy-handed, this is a nice way to kind of ease that contour. And I basically like to run the brush around the whole perimeter of my face. And I love this bronzer. It's such a beautiful colour. It's not too kind of orange, and it's really, really buildable. So you can just sit here and layer it on until you get the kind of depth that you like, and it will never look powdery. Make sure to bring it down your neck as well, if you're going for that more unified, cohesive look, which I definitely am. And for highlight today, I'm going to be using Becca's Shimmering Skin Perfector, but this time in the shade Opal, which I absolutely love. I like to take this along the tops of the cheekbone and kind of blend it in using a mix of kind of swiping but also circular motions, because I want to avoid that kind of sharp stripe that you just sometimes see sitting right on the top of your cheekbones. And I always like to take it kind of up to the arch of the brow as well, kind of onto the brow bone too. Then for blush, I am going to go in with the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush in the shade Mood Exposure, which is a kind of dusky mauve shade, and I just think it will complement the tones that we've got on the eyes. And taking the damp beauty blender, I'm just going to pat that over the powders, and this is just going to make everything look a bit more cohesive, seamless, unified. You don't see where one powder starts and the other ends. I'm going to take a little bit of Becca Opal and apply that also to the inner corners of the eyes, just to kind of finish off the eyes. I'm just going to take a tiny amount right under the arch of that brow. Just blend it out with my finger. And moving on to the lips, I am going to line them first with MAC's Soar Lip Liner. And if you wanted to, you can actually use this to kind of fill in your whole lips, but I just want to use it as a guide for when I apply the liquid lipstick. The liquid lipstick I'm using today is Ofra's Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick, and this is in the shade Charmed, which is a limited edition. No, actually, I don't think it's limited edition anymore. It's the collaboration with Manny MUA, and I think this would go perfectly with the kind of rosy tones of this makeup. Right, and then to finish off, I'm going to be using Makeup Forever's Mist and Fix Setting Spray. And so this is pretty much the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me create this really feminine, girly, very flirty kind of makeup. If you did enjoy it, then please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!